Hi, I'm Cameron Bonzi. I'm the Vice President of Marketing with Coast to Maine Brands, and I'm here with Farmer Steph of Farm to Table Kids. We're going to do a garden walk. Steph, how are you today?
Fabulous, Cameron. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I know that we're going to talk about cold hardy seeds. We're going to do some saving talk. And then I also love cut and come again flowers. That sounds wonderful to me, actually. So you're in your garden. It is right now, actually today, it's August 23rd, and it's been a
Mhm.
dry summer. So let's get into some cold hardy seeds.
Yes, thank you, Cameron. It's been a dry summer. However, we did just recently get rain here in New England, so it's definitely making things pop. So that also, I just want to point out, just because it's the last week of August and we're turning the corner in September, it
Yep,
does not mean that growing season is over by any
right.
means. Like, I
No,
think people kind of get a little excited to turn the
yes,
corner on things. And as a farmer in New England, there's just such a short window already that I personally love to maximize the garden as best I can. Because think of all the time and effort that goes into setting it all up. You really do want to
absolutely.
make sure you can get as much as you can right up to snow. So, regarding that, Cameron and I love saving seeds. It's one of our favorite things to do together. We have so many incredible, impressive seed saving videos that we can
We
share with
do.
you.
Yeah.
We can actually link them to this podcast, but we do have a legit library of seed saving. And I was just walking around, Cameron, right during like the beginning of this video, and just right off the cuff of my head, I saw so many seeds in the garden. These are sweet pea seeds, and as you can see, they're legit just popping right out of the pod. Can you see that?
You've held it. You can hold it up. There you go, right there.
They're just popping right out of the pod. So
Oh
those
yeah,
are
that's
sweet pea
cool.
seeds. They're
Yeah.
awesome for kids to save because as you can see, they're just perfectly the size of dried sweet peas. So they're awesome to save and they're great for little kids to see. Put them in a mason jar, keep them dry, and you have your seeds for next year. Other great seeds to save are dill. Dill dries beautifully if you keep it on the like right in the ground. And then the kids this is another one that's awesome for families to do. The kids can just shake them right out into a mason jar, and then you have dill seeds. Another really one that's simple for kids to do is marigolds. For marigolds, guys, you take the heads. They are like very dense and they can have a lot of moisture in them, which reminds me that anytime you want to harvest seeds or save seeds, harvest your flower heads or your seed heads when they're dry. So that should either be just later in the afternoon and definitely not on a day where it's rained. Okay, so make sure when you want to harvest for seeds, that those things are dry. Marigold is a great one. Once you dry it, the orange pom-poms just naturally fall off. And then the inside here, these are all the seeds of the marigold right there. So as you can see, there's like 100 right here in one head. And you guys, you're probably thinking like, yeah, but do these work? Are these really going to work next year when I plant them in the ground? Yes, they
Yes,
do.
of
They
course they
do.
do.
Mother Nature is
Yeah,
literally just giving us her seeds, being like, please play with me again. Zinnia
yes.
is another great one to save from because their seed pods are legit just this giant head in the middle. So again, just like the marigold, you dry it right in the sun, and then these things here are the seeds. Boop, right there. Okay, so I can go on. There's so many things that you could seed save. This is strawflower, another great one to do with kids because it's furry and soft and it's kind of like a dandelion. So there's so many. Oh, the
We
snapdragons.
will add, yeah. So, and we will add, because a lot of people will just hear this and won't
Oh,
see
right.
what you're doing. I mean, we obviously have the video that we'll do, um, and we'll also add a link to those seed saving videos that we have done, which are awesome, includes kids and give people ideas of things to do this time of year with their kids. So that's cool. The so your cut and come again flowers. What are the flowers that you think about and have when you're talking about cut and cut again, come again?
Yeah, so those flowers, I really want to point out to people that when you start to see your zinnias pop and your cosmos come in, even your dahlias come in, you want to cut those. Cut them with long stems because the more that you cut them and harvest them, the more they'll grow. And at every stem, typically speaking, like with a branching sunflower, okay? If you cut a nice sunflower stem, there are going to be two nodes that are going to come from that one stem that you cut. So like any flower that's cut and come again or branching, you want to cut as much as you can so that they will grow back more. There are some varieties that are not cut and come again. Sunflowers, the beautiful, perfect sunflowers that you see at a
Yeah.
farmer's market with those gorgeous
Your
thick
favorite?
stems and they're all just facing perfectly to the sun. That's Soraya, and that's a one cut sunflower. They're grown for market. So there are varieties that are just a one cut. But if your variety is branching or cut and come again, like cosmos, marigolds, zinnias, asters, celosia, strawflower, snapdragons, yeah, most things are cut and come again.
You give me a ton of tags that I need to make sure that I put into this too.
Well, I've been noticing other people's gardens when I go to them and I see their front garden bed in front of their house and they might be like finally have their zinnias coming in. But I just look at it, I'm like, if you just cut that one main stem, you would have a bush. And so I just see things like that. And I just want to go and like give it a little snip so it fills out more. So just again, take advantage of the time and like you already have a nice mature plant, cut it and you'll get it even more.
So then we go into what you're going to be planting, the cold hardy seeds that you're going to be planting.
Yeah.
Are
Okay.
you going to be planting right now? Are you in the process of planting right now?
Yes, you absolutely can start seeds right now. Typically speaking, last week in August, going into September, if there's a type of seed that is 50 days plus, I stay away from that. It's got to be 50 days or less for its maturity date. And so things like
We
spinach.
should remind people when you say that, and especially people like me that don't always remember that stuff, that that's going to say it right on the seed package too,
Yeah,
correct?
it'll tell you right on the seed packet.
Yeah.
And we're planting direct into the ground right now. We're not planting into trays. Sometimes in the early season, it's really helpful to plant into trays, but the soil's warm, the
Yeah.
temperature's warm, and they're going to be so much hardier if they germinate outside than in a protected environment in the greenhouse. And some seeds just won't even germinate. Like lettuce doesn't even germinate over 90 degrees, and it wouldn't even germinate in
Right.
my greenhouse right now. So that's why plant direct. The season is not over by any means. You can plant wonderful things like watermelon, radish, um, any kind of lettuce, green, any kind of spinach, even general spinach would be great right now. You could do a fast acting carrot, would be delicious because the carrots just need to germinate and get started, and you can continue to harvest them if you put a nice layer of mulching hay over them. You can continue to harvest through snow. So that's why I'm saying, guys, if you love gardening as much as we do, and I'm sure you do if you're listening to this, the season is by no means over. It's just time to get ready for cold season.
Well, I think that's the piece that, especially a beginner gardener, I mean, when I was a kid, and my parents had a spring garden, kind of, but they didn't do any gardening in the fall. They were cleaning up, and it's all. I think that education and that shift. Obviously, the climate's changed too, so it's more advantageous to grow later in the fall in most places. But I think that's the piece that people forget, and then they don't know what they should grow, and you can still keep adding to your family's plate, so to speak. And that
Mhm.
sharing with neighbors that you talk about too, because I think that's an important part.
That's right, and also it's getting back to school season, and you'll notice that, like, the kids really do, I think, once in New England, once we start to shift into winter, you spend every second you can outside to soak it
Yes,
up before winter hits, and
yes,
so I do notice kids really tend to go back to the garden once the fun of summer's over and school starts to set in.
yep.
I see them go out to the garden more and interact with it more because of the pace, I think, and because that they know the change of season is coming. So there's a greater appreciation there. So the season's not over, but continue to put your cold hardy seeds directly into the ground and remember to harvest your seeds. The one thing I do want to point out, in addition to harvesting the seeds when they're dry, is never harvest from a plant that has any kind of disease on it. So if it has powdery mildew or was, incredibly
Yeah.
had a ton of bug pressure on it and was just damaged in that way, leave it be. Only harvest seeds from the most beautiful flower blooms or vegetable sets that you have.
I also kind of separate from gardening in a sense, but I'm also thinking about kids. And there's a lot of back to school programs, there's sports, there's all these different activities. But there may be people that can't afford or aren't in a situation to have that type of program. And if you do have a garden and you can get your kids and maybe some neighborhood kids out there, that's a great activity for kids, for learn to be physical, to get along with others. So I just want to reinforce that with people out there too. You can make your garden a playground, so it's all
Make it
good.
a playground. And then, Cameron, I loved what we talked about last week. And I think we should continue the message of when your harvest hits, whether it be, a ton of
Yes,
Sweet 100 cherry tomatoes or
yeah,
Dajunga zucchini squash, bring it to your local food bank. They
yeah.
really do get it into the hands of food insecure families in your neighborhood. So please, if you do have a surplus, bring it to your local food bank.
Absolutely do that. And then, like you were talking again with kids and creating a deeper empathy and sharing with others, it's a great thing to do. They can see their work and their play turn into something that actually is nutritious. And, honestly, it creates a better society too. It just does. It's
Mhm,
all good.
mhm.
So. The what have we forgotten? What didn't I check in on? You know?
There's always something. Well, one more thing. Okay, one more thing. There's always one more
Yep,
thing. With the change of season, you're going to notice different kinds of pests. We kind of are going to go
yeah,
past the Japanese beetle pressure and we're going to go into like back black fly pressure.
yep,
And for those nasty little natty black flies that are going to pester your brassicas and your cold hardy crops, you want to start getting remay over the top of that. It's a permeable cloth that will keep bugs and insects away, but it will let the moisture hit the plant. So
yep.
all that is, any local garden center will have that. You just put simple little bendable steel frames over your crops, lay the remay on top of it, and just do it now before they get all netted into your broccoli heads and your Brussels sprout leaves. Like, do it now. But take the remay off if it gets a really hot day.
So those are all great messages, and I think it's about celebrating the fall. It has been a hot, tough summer. You can have a great harvest this fall. You can have fun with your kids, and you can always grab some energy from Farmer Steph, who just does incredible stuff. So thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Cameron. Thank you for having me.
All right, have a great one.
Happy gardening.